fight. There is an armor, ancient magic made it strong, and you shall wear it when you face the fight.
Does he get the ward?
Certainly does not, but takes a big chunk of damage. Actually gets flashed into the wall and will fall down. First blood for Claire. We'll get one, we'll get two. Claire is unstoppable, and Legacy now will look to close out the game. Comes the charge. Swiper's going underneath the tower, and Babip is still somehow alive. That's going to be the first kill, as it's going to be over onto Swiper. Make that 2 for Chiefs. And they're looking to tie this up with the fastest game of all of Rift Rivals 2018. It's one for DFM, but they're all got blinking health bars. They're all starting to fall apart. Direwolves have turned the fight in favor. Another Sleepy Bubble Trouble's there. Everything has gone wrong for DFM, and Vivid falls. It's a 4 for 1. The Nexus goes down at 30 minutes, and Direwolves take down DFM. However, they will not be stopped. Flash forward out of the Xayah. Red buff is survived. Once will go down, make that a triple kill. They just continue.
They're teleporting to end.
They're channeling to end.
Yeah, it looks like they're just going to teleport to the base. No Barrow, but super minions are there, and it seems like they've done enough.
And KLH pick up their first win. A double onto King, and he is going to go pop. X marks absolutely nothing. It's a quadra kill over to King. And the Direwolves again just absolutely tear Ascension apart.
Hello and welcome to day 3 of the 2018 League of Legends Rift Rivals, brought to you by Event Cinemas. My name is Nick Boy Richardson, and I am here in the rather schmick State Theatre in Sydney, New South Wales, for another day of knockdown, drag-out, slugfest League of Legends as the top teams from Southeast Asia, Japan, and OST battle it out to see who can dominate the Rift and who gets to take home this old thing. And speaking of old things, I am joined by host, caster extraordinaire, and genuine British Spice Boy, Hiprain. I would never accuse a region of not trying their absolute hardest, but the pressure is off OST today because they are through to the grand final no matter what.
I wouldn't agree on completely the pressure being off them. First place is still available for them. First seed going into those grand finals. But Japan, man, they have a lot to do if they want to make those finals. It's not out, but they have to win every game today. If they drop one single game, it's over for them. Southeast Asia, though, they can still get first as well. So OST have still got some competition. They've still got something they've got to fight for.
Absolutely. It is do or die for Japan. Starting from game 1, what else should we be looking out for today? What's caught your eye?
We've got 3 undefeated teams coming in, Mineski, Legacy, and Direwolves. So still, OST don't want to have 2 teams going with any losses. That'd be great for them going into the finals. We've also just got so much action coming up, but it's mainly, I want to be following the Japan. If they lose this first game, they're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, well, my tip for Japan would be make sure you're always on the red side, because all 5 winners yesterday were red side teams. So maybe there is something there, but there is certainly something behind our caster's desk, and that is 2 gentlemen in the shape of Spawn and Ejam.
Thank you so much, Nick. I am Jake Spawn Tiberi. Joining me is the beautiful Bryce Ejim Paul. I like the sweater.
Yeah, thanks, man. You know, my tie's not poking out the top, but there we go. Fix it up. Thanks for calling me beautiful. That's a cute little intro.
That's all right. And of course, we have some huge games coming your way today. The first one, straight off the rank, is going to be KLH taking on Detonation Focus Me. Of course, it's going to be Southeast Asia once again taking on the LJL. And both of these teams really have something to prove. Falling down against the Oceanic lineups, but now trying to bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. Detonation Focus Me haven't actually played against an OST team. We've seen Kuala Lumpur Hunters. They have struggled. Their last game, they did get that victory, and Nick was asking me, what do they have to do? And I really like their adaptations. They go all in the early game, and they actually take the fight to the other team.
And do you think there is something behind this red side winning every single game? Is it a meta thing? Is the counter pick all that valuable?
I feel like counter pick is definitely valuable, and that's why we see it, right? Having the counter picks in the solo lanes, because coming into the tournament, I expected top to be one of the most mismatched roles. We have a lot of very good top laners and then some weaker top laners in the scene. So in terms of the teams at Rift Rivals, I think that's been very important. All right,
cool. Well, let's get straight into it. Starting off on your blue side is going to be the Kuala Lumpur Hunters, of course. Their top laner is going to be Shiro. Caspiel in the jungle. Our Hedge is their mid laner. Azora Becky the superstar AD carry, and of course his support is super.
And Azoroveki is where you have to look. In their one victory, they picked the Xin but they picked it with the Xayah and the Rakan. They took it to the enemy team early. He was the one that stood above. They fell down in the mid game, but they were constantly looking for team fights, and that Xayah was popping off by the end of the game.
Certainly was, and it's something that we've seen a little bit more internationally, the return of the crit AD carries. One of the first ones we've seen at Rift Rivals, however, very high success.
Because that's the thing, we have seen these games played on patch 8.13, so Guinsoo's nerf, things like that. No more Kai'Sa. Lucian, high priority, but is getting banned a lot of the time. So now the resurgence of Xayah might just be down in the bottom lane with Rakan.
Certainly could be the case, and of course their opponent is going to be the LJL's Detonation Focus Me. The weight of a region now on their shoulders. It's going to be Evie in the top lane, Steel, their jungler, Seros in the mid lane, Unipon and Vivid are their AD carry and support.
And this is honestly my favorite Japanese team to watch play the game. I feel like Pentagram have come in, they're playing the not traditional meta style. They're going the late game, picking the gangplank and wanting to scale up. USG faltering in the early game, but Detonation Focus Me with Unipon. They're picking like this Rumble, this Ornn, Alistar, these all-in early compositions, and they're just taking the fight to the other regions, and I think it just makes for explosive games.
Yeah, and I think that if Oceania wasn't in such good form, this team could easily have 1 or 2 victories underneath their belt. I liked the Rumble down in the bottom lane. I thought that was very cute. Rumble, of course, great pushing power, and really did stifle out some of that aggression.
Because looking at that draft, it actually looked kind of rough for the Rumble, in all honesty. On paper, into a Lucian Braum, you expect that maybe to get bullied out a little bit, but Steel on that Nocturne got so many ganks off against the Direwolves, and he was ganking body, killed the Braum, went mid, and he had an absolutely monstrous game and kind of hiding the weaknesses of their comp. So Detonation Focus Me strike me as a team with a lot of diversity, but they come in with those diverse compositions very prepared.
See whether they are prepared right now for the Hunters, because they must win this game to keep the LJL's hopes alive. It's going to be Morgana, actually the first ban. Zoe will join her. 2 very frequent bans and picks this tournament.
We've seen both of these have a great deal of success for multiple regions coming into the tournament. Of course, it was very hard to scout out the Southeast Asian region. So now that they've seen a couple of games, obviously banning away the Zoe from our hedge.
See what else is to follow. You can see deep in thought right now, the Hunters kind of talking through their next banner will be Aurelia, something that Seros has already picked up this tournament.
Yep, first game versus the Chiefs, it was a bit of a 50-50 one, you know. There were so many team fights constantly going back and forth, but him individually had an incredibly good performance on the Aurelia, so makes sense to ban that one away. Swain, another ban that will hit the list, is super high priority for just about every region at this event.
Certainly is, and of course these guys approaching this game, a lot of pressure. Not often as the second, third place seeds do you get to play international tournaments, especially if you're from one of the minor regions. So they do have a lot to prove and would like to take some form back home into their region. It's going to be Talia ban aimed towards Steel.
Yeah, and do they ban away the Nocturne, right? Talia and Nocturne, the 2 probably highest priority junglers of the tournament. We haven't seen too much Talia because she's been banned every game, and they're actually just going to answer that one. We talked about how Steel is so incredibly potent on that pick, but everyone can play it. It's not that hard, so they do ban it away from the KLH.
Yeah, and KLH looking for potentially a super tank in the top lane. They did hover the Mundo. Not without counter picks, I think, at the moment, however, but does seem to still have a very good place in that top lane.
I mean, if you've taught me anything, then Aatrox is just the best champion in the game, and they hovered that for a second there. So Mundo certainly has a counter pick up there in the top lane.
You accuse me of putting words in your mouth. The words behind Aatrox, Bryce, is he's not that bad.
Yep.
It's not that he's good, it's that he's not that bad.
Someone else that isn't that bad is Lucian.
Okay, he's pretty good, I reckon.
He's pretty damn good. We've seen so many good performances. A few losses here and there, but that's just going to be the blind pickup. For Azoroveki, we talked about his Xayah performance potentially won them the game later on yesterday, so giving the early game bully potential to their captain and leader down in the bottom lane makes a lot of sense.
Certainly does. He's already played a stellar Xayah. Now moving on to the Lucian. I want to see whether they pair. Ooh. First time it's been left up and available,
yes.
I believe.
This is a Seros pick. It's been banned every single game versus DFM, and that's going to be the Heimerdinger.
Yeah, the Donga locked in the mid lane.
I'm excited.
Kind of a legacy champion, like not really something that we see all that often. Was played in the marksman or carry bottom lane position a little bit in Europe.
Kind of like Aatrox in that before his rework, he had a little bit of resurgence with the funnel compositions. Of course, Aatrox came in more standard, but Europe was playing him down in the bottom lane. The push pressure in the laning phase is very hard to deal with, especially for a short-range AD carry like the Lucian, so it had some time down there, but this is actually a Seros champion. Maybe they flex it. We've seen Unipon pick up some weird things in the bottom lane, but all eyes are on the mid laner for DFM.
Certainly is. Caspiel going to grab Shiro's Mundo right now. Arhedge actually looking towards a champion that sets up fantastic kill threat in the mid lane in the Lysandra, but it's not going to be the case. Karma instead locked in.
Because both those two champions, the Lysandra and then now the Karma, deal with the Heimerdinger in different ways. You're going to get shoved in. Karma has better push against the Heimerdinger. With that mantra, with the Q, you can actually reach the turrets without being attacked, whereas Lysandra, you'd want a more carry-oriented jungle, damage from the jungle where she can just set up the play. She has the CC to just dive on top of the Heimerdinger. But going for the more defensive option overall.
And Trundle being locked in here is interesting because probably means that Camille is going to go into the top lane.
And that is interesting because we've seen Evie play a whole lot of tanks. He's coming into the tournament as probably potentially one of the best top laners, touted coming from the Japanese region, and has had some very good international performances before this event, but we've just seen him on tank duty. A lot of the Ornn, a lot of the Mundo, things like that. Now getting his hands on the Camille, the DFM lineup trusting him in the top side.
And already the Sejuani ban.
It's interesting.
Going to be there. Something that Trundle historically has beaten into the ground.
But it's not much to do with the jungle matchup. Of course, Trundle will be fine into the Sejuani, does very well, but they just want to remove engage tools. This is a Karma, this is a Lucian, and a Mundo. They have absolutely no hard CC, barring what, a delayed route from the Karma, which isn't very good. So when you have an immobile mid laner like the Heimerdinger, even though it is a good jungle matchup for the Trundle, they're just banning away CC opportunities for the KLH.
All right, see whether this continues, whether they take something like Alistar or Rakan away, potentially from Superior down in the bottom lane. Played a very nice Rakan game.
Or do they just continue to ban away the junglers? 2 seconds left, and it will just be the Alistar, as you mentioned. Rakan still up and available. Lucian Rakan, a very potent bot lane 2v2, but DFM, they will have the eventual counter pick.
Or the opportunity to pick it away. Udapon can grab Rakan. Xayah is still up and available as well. That is a very strong 2v2 lane. And instead they get rid of another Seros pick in the Vel'Koz.
Scared of the flex pick, you know. Udapon, we talked about it, possibly could be playing that Heimerdinger. Will likely get showed in this pick here unless they take away a support. Might just look like a Soraka. That'd be a pretty interesting pick just blind.
Certainly would be. It will help out the split pushing threat of Evie, as well as the fact that Seros will spend a lot of time underneath turret.
But it's interesting in terms of she doesn't have a lot of disengage potential. When you talk about 1-3-1, if you have the split push threat from the Camille, things like that, and Soraka can keep someone alive, but she can't stop the enemies from forcing on top of you. She doesn't disengage in the same way a Janna or a Tahm Kench or things like that. So interesting to see that one blinded away, but is a much stronger laner.
Yeah, certainly is. I mean, especially with the different Soraka builds that we've been seeing lately. A lot of Emax Soraka has actually made its way in.
It's kind of funny that Soraka eventuated into this damage poke champion, not even putting points in the W until level 3, things like that. Just going for the Emax, it's so obnoxious as an AD carry, especially short range like the Lucian. He's lucky he will probably build towards that Bork. He will have the life still in the lane. Of course, that is pretty rough.
Certainly is. And Caspiel going to be taking Graves and a Pike in the bottom lane.
We haven't seen this too much, not with a CC bottom lane. We've seen it with the Morgana. Those early ganks can be so successful, but without the setup from the marksman position, Lucian can do nothing to help the Pike set up his CC. DFM still have time to answer, about 8 seconds left on the clock, but you expect this to be another bottom lane pickup.
Certainly could be the case. Obviously still a flex available if they do go with Vlad. You don't really know where the Heimer is going, although we suspect that it's going to be Seros's.
Not to mention Vladimir, if he's down in the bottom lane with the Soraka, Soraka can sit so far back, and Vladimir always has that safety from the Pike. Unless the hook lands, you're always going to be able to dodge with the pull, that E-stun. Graves coming in, doesn't have a whole lot of CC, so it's a pretty hard gank down on the bottom side unless you can get onto the Soraka.
But still no real super tank on the Detonation Focus Me lineup. Really going to be relying on Evie engaging and stealing away some of the resistances of Mundo across the board. Kuala Lumpur Hunters, maybe not the CC you would like, but still a good mid-game fighting team.
Yeah, 100%. I think DFM's comp, they don't have a lot of wave play. Heimerdinger, you think about his push priority, it's incredible there, but if he's set behind, if you have a setup underneath your own turret and you're trying to defend against a siege, your turrets, they just get killed off immediately. Sure, you have like your ult, your grenade, you can buy maybe one wave, things like that, but KLH, if they get ahead, I can see them just steamrolling DFM's comp.
Well, potential for a tough game for Detonation Focus Me then, as we are about to get onto Summoner's Rift for game number 1 of Rift Rivals Day 3. It is do or die time right now for the Japanese lineup. Coaches will shake hands. It's going to be the Kuala Lumpur Hunters taking on Detonation Focus Me.
And I love that it is this game. If DFM do not win, then Japan have no ability to get into the finals, and they've now got the Heimerdinger. The first time it's left up against this lineup and they take it away, it's going to be an interesting game.
Seros is the master of these picks. You know, first time the Zillion, all of a sudden, now throwing back to the Heimerdinger. I like it. You don't have any practice against them. And if you are practiced on a champion and they have no practice against it, sometimes the game can get real weird.
And it can. We saw the interview with Nick and Rocky going up against that Aatrox. Of course, this is the first competitive tournament on this patch that it is enabled. And Rocky was saying he had to learn on the fly. And Seros, he hasn't gone for the big brain skin, you know. He's not going for the smarts, just got the Goldilocks.
Got the throw.
Yeah, he's got cool glasses. He also has a real cool run animation as well.
So we are on to Summoner's Rift. You can see KLH currently on your blue side. It is going to be Detonation Focus Me on the victorious red side. Just a fan out really across the board.
Once again, these two compositions, level 1, not too great. Karma is okay. Evie could level the hook shot if he wants to go for anything like that. But in terms of level 1, just going to be some fans, some dancers down on the bottom side.
You'd be happy with Soup is using a chroma.
Yeah.
Of course, Bryce's rule is if a skin has a chroma and you don't use it, you deserve to lose
There
the
is
game.
one exception to the rule.
What's that?
And that's Snow Day Bard.
Really?
Because that got released, I think, after the chromas and also just looks much better.
You like a cup of hot cocoa?
Yeah, absolutely. It's better than the flowers, you know. They're nice and tasty. You know, it's a bit cold in the river, you know, when you go for some roam.
I like it because it has more clarity. I feel like that's one of the few skins that actually adds clarity to it.
It's like a Super Galaxy Rumble, you know, like every top laner ever was just using that skin.
Yeah, that one's strange to me. I always use Rumble in the jungle. However, Caspiel wants a little bit of a Rumble in the jungle, will be spotted out. So a delayed invade by 3 members of KLH here.
And we've seen this happen multiple times this tournament, and I feel like DFM, they make the right decision. Their ward is pretty shallow on the top side of the river. They spot the invade coming, and Steel just immediately leaves. He doesn't try and go for any contest. You're not going to be able to win that 2v3 with Evie in the top side of the jungle, and it will buy some time for Seros to just hard shove this wave in, but the Trundle does get to start his jungle a little bit late.
I mean, you've just denied a whole wave of CS nearly. Hedge is going to get 1 CS out of the entire wave, whereas Seros got all 6.
Just scouting over the wall there, of course, does grant a little bit of vision. Knows exactly where the Graves is, and now has the ability to just back off Caspiel. And they're looking around for something, but was spotted out by the ward, not to mention Seros has the barrier anyway.
Didn't clear out the whole camp there, Caspiel. So just doing a little bit of, you know, intelligent counter jungle early in the game. You see in the bottom lane, Soup and Azora Vecchi hit level 2 first, so have the shove in there. Already burnt the flash of Utapon.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Soraka strikes me as one of those champions, and I always say if she's not winning the lane, she's incredibly useless. If you can bait out her Q, then she has absolutely no lane pressure. So the fact that they've paired it with something like a Vlad, sure, it's very hard to kill them, but they're not going to have priority. They're not going to have a whole lot of control over the wave if KLH play this one properly. And with the CC from Pyke early enough, with Lucian's level 2 spike, they're already shoving in, and I feel like it's going to be very difficult for DFM to get out of this situation.
Yeah, potentially could be the case. They also don't have a full combat summoner there, running the barrier on Vivid. Something we see a lot on the support.
Yep. It's just a Soraka thing, right? Like, you have so many heals, you have your W, you have your ultimate, things like that. Vladimir has the extra safety from his pool anyway, so Soraka, you can dish out so much more healing if you can keep yourself alive, so it's kind of unexpected to see supports go for the greedy summoner, but in this situation, it just makes a lot of sense.
All right, checking with the other lanes right now. Top lane completely even. Still looked like he wanted to duck his nose in there, but Evie did correctly ping out the fact that there is a ward. And Shiro does the right thing, just backs away from the wave, lets it crash into him.
Mundo has the luxury of just sitting there farming with the cleavers, as neither jungler has actually opted into an early base yet. Caspiel has a whole lot more camps up and available on the map because of what happened at level 1, because they invaded the red buff, so just going to put basically all of his camps on cooldown before he goes back to base, and Steel, nice to clear out the rest of his Raptors.
And both of these junglers are actually very safe clearers. Both of them stay incredibly high health, don't really burn through the most mana unless you want to do it quickly. Steel knocks the plant back towards him to clear out his own jungle, prioritizing vision denial.
Yep. Watched Hedge walk over there, watched him place down the ward, so knew exactly where it was. Had the priority from Seros, as that's a buffless Trundle, potentially looking to fight the Graves, so does just walk away.
Arch nemesis of Graves, wards.
Only gets 2 auto attacks, needs 3. Need to burn your dash.
Certainly does. However, is 11 CS up right now, so doing a very good job is Caspiel. Got to remember, oh, actually, Seros gets chunked out in the mid lane.
I'm actually surprised that so quickly this matchup has turned around on his head. Seros finding himself underneath the turret. is even in CS, but in terms of priority right now, absolutely none.
And when does Heimerdinger come online, Bryce? What are we looking for out of Heimerdinger?
I have very few clues about that one, you know? Like, he has a lot of options in terms of what he's building. He can go for many different things. He has a whole lot of bursts. You can go for a couple of different builds where you just go for the super priority push. You can go for the burst with the rockets. When you get to late game, it's all about controlling zones with the Heimerdinger, whether you use your big ultimate, use the upgrade on your turret if you can sort of set up inside of a Baron pit or anything like that. If any skirmishes in the jungle, your ultimate on your W can do so much damage.
Phase check going to come out here, but nice ward from Caspiel. Will chase away Steel. You can see Seros trying to get something done. However,
nice
will
grenade.
get the stun and a good amount of damage. Will already have to burn the barrier as well as the flash. Caspiel wants this one and will get it. First blood picked up for KLH.
And that was through both the summoners. Seros burns everything. The barrier was not enough to keep him alive. The stun from Karma just barely landing on the back end of that engage. And once again, this is another lead for the jungle. The Graves had that late invade. Has constantly been bullying Steel around the map, and he's just going to continue to do so.
And you have to feel that that's a little bit of disrespect out of Seros. Maybe a misread. Did not flash initially, Bryce, and therefore will fall down.
Thought the grenade was enough. It landed onto the Karma, but turned around for the rockets just so slowly got stunned up there. And in terms of skirmish potential, the 2v2, the range of Karma, Mantra Q, and the Graves, they absolutely demolish a Heimerdinger and a Trundle.
Soup goes in bottom lane. We'll get a good chunk onto Udapon, however, will be healed up by Vivid. So not all that much happening in the bottom lane.
You have to kind of look for the top side for DFM. It's got to be about Evie, just back, keep it back to lane with that Tiamat working on the top side of the map against the Mundo. He can go pretty well against the Camille earlier on in the lane, but once those items start getting completed, once you get towards the Triforce, Evie really going to have to put the carry pants on, I feel like, as this game progresses, because mid lane, no favorites for DFM, and bottom lane going strongly in favor of KLH.
Certainly is. You can see from the mid lane that Arhedge is just a very confident player against this Heimerdinger, always running past the wave, looking to always have priority. Will, however, now run out of the dematerializer.
KLH, top side, just have so much control. The return on the red buff, first one taken away. They bully away Steel. They know exactly when that was coming up and available, so priority for top side. Shiro walks over, groups up with Caspiel, and a very easy steal away once again. Trundle just has to recall, walk to the other side of the map.
And they really have picked on Steel. They've just had vision of him, have known his whereabouts the entirety of this game, which means that, especially for Trundle, you're not going to get all that much done on Summoner's Rift. However, there is an Earth Dragon, so if they can get any advantage, he will be able to chew through that one nice and quickly.
And looking at the itemization in the bottom lane, Vladimir so much sustained, Soraka as well. So I really like Azoroveki going back, going for a first item execution is calling. It makes so much sense. You know, you're delaying your spike, you're delaying the balk, but you don't have to opt into all-ins against a needlessly large rod that the Vladimir has. You can just constantly poke them out, and these two champions rely on their sustain to keep them up in the laning phase, and they're just constantly having priority, constantly shoving in, and the healing reduction is just so annoying.
And once again, Soup does a great job of ducking into the jungle, getting some vision down on the camps that are up and available of Steel, just tracking him around the map. They might have found him again. Actually, we'll go in. That's going to be the pillar used, and Soup is there, flips him over the back of his head. Steel does have ultimate, has to burn the flash, gets away. Now Seros is looking to re-engage this. Good silencing field is down. That is going to be the stun grenade. Over the wall goes Udapon. Huge ultimate. That will be Azorovecki's culling, but the kill does go across.
And it was just a better collapse from DFM. Flash used by Steel, but Graves doesn't have any of his own. So the silence comes out from Vivid. Udapon goes over the wall, and they just clean up the kill.
And you have to think that's a bit of over-aggression.
Yep.
You know, trying to keep Steel down, but maybe should have just taken the flash afterwards, could not back away.
And that's the thing, Scuttlecry was still up and available. They were contesting over that one. Caspiel wanted to deny the Trundle any access to that area, and he could just auto-attack him a few times, maybe hit him with a buckshot, and Trundle will have to walk away. Graves is one of the more traditional counter picks, you know. He has the dash for the pillar, and a Trundle shouldn't be able to really ever proc press the attack against a Graves. So in terms of a fight, he will always win, but overreaching, going towards the jungle. Shorter path from bottom lane for DFM, and Seros had the easier rotate as well.
And the big thing for me is that Seros was getting shut out of this game. Now, however, picked up the double buff, will be able to continually push in. You can see it hasn't stopped Caspiel, still has the same game plan of continually invading on the top side of the map.
And this is super annoying for Evie on the Camille. Look how defensive his pink ward is up on the top side. He has so much control, he's built himself 10 CS lead, despite the fact that the top side of the jungle for DFM has been constantly invaded time and time again.
Meanwhile, bottom lane, however, a little bit of an all-in down there. See, Unipon is just still trying to sustain up, as is Vivid.
Wants to get to that first item mark, of course, Vladimir, in terms of spiking, wants to get towards that level 8, level 9 mark. Finish the Spellbinder, probably go towards the straight damage build in this composition. They need to get the burst on when you have Evie flanking from the side lane, when you have Heimerdinger, things like that.
Yeah, it's super weird. I don't know what Heimerdinger does well in a composition.
He has a lot of zone control.
I assume he has to set up first? Like, maybe?
Absolutely. Like, you see, when he has priority, it's very hard to take it back from the Heimerdinger. But as soon as he's getting invaded on the top side in the lineup of Steel, then RH kind of finds his way back into the mid lane. Manchuku just eats the turret. So if DFM do get a lead, I feel like it's very hard for KLH to ever check an objective. If that's an Infernal Drake, if that's a Baron, things like that. They've only got the one pure tank, as Shiro might be in a bit of trouble on the top side.
Yeah, potentially could be. That is going to be Evie going in. We'll already have him on no health. Ultimate pop from Shiro, however, now will be ulted up by the Trundle and just eaten alive.
And they just make it so easy. That was a prepared play from Evie. We mentioned the pink ward and the tri-bush before. Steel just walks up and around behind Shiro. Hextech Ultimatum locks him down and nothing he can do.
They will trade out a Dragon for a kill as well as the first turret, so large advantage going over to Detonation Focus Me if they are able to get this one.
Do they stick around? There's no TP for the Mundo, so no ability to get back to the lane, try and defend it. With no ultimates from Camille and Trundle would be a possibility, but the fact that that's not available, they're just going to take the Dragon. They're going to lose first brick. Gold lead heavily going in the favor of DFM in this trade, but Mountain, once you get to mid-game, so valuable.
Certainly could be, but we've already mentioned that they're losing out on priority. They are slowly losing track of where the map is. Actually, Evie doesn't take down the turret. It's a little bit strange to me.
Maybe just wanting to deny another wave, not looking for something. Pyke in the bottom lane, just getting it shoved out by Graves. They've called it they need a reset. It's just the Executioners. Pyke just sitting on the Relic Shield upgrade of the Targons and bringing down the jungle to try help them out, but
Evie goes back in now, and Shiro is in trouble one more time. Will take half of his health, no ultimate available. Does, however, have the flash.
And I think this is super rough on the bottom side all of a sudden, because DFM now have priority in all three lanes. Evie on the top side, continuing to push him in, and KLH, the problems that have plagued them earlier in the tournament is just the individual outplays. Getting outplayed by their opponent. It's not coming together. It's not the macro game, things like that. It's just losing in the lane phase. And it's so hard to play against a team in the mid game when you have a disadvantage. And so all of a sudden, DFM find themselves winning on all three fronts. This is a similar situation for KLH.
And that's hard to play around. When you go in and you review a VOD and you're like, how did we lose this game? Well, we got outplayed individually too early for our team play to come on. Like, how do you fix that in a day? I mean, you don't.
Get outplayed a little late. You know, that's a bad answer. It's very difficult. It's not obvious mistakes you can point at. Laning phase is kind of the baseline that most competitive teams build from. So if you're lacking the fundamentals, if there's a skill discrepancy in terms of the foundation of the game, it's very hard to come back from.
Certainly is. We see right now, Seros has not even picked up brown bags yet. He's a very slow Heimerdinger, however, is going towards what will now be a Zhonya's Hourglass.
Very slow, and his blue buff's going to be taken away. As Evie might be in a little bit of trouble on the bot side.
That is a nice Harpoon. Very good prediction. However, now onto Azora Vecchi looking for a flash forward. And a Caspiel will hold. And a great execute coming out of Soup.
But they do barely just get the kill. Flash burn from Evie. Soraka potentially could have saved him. But they do find the pick on the other side of the map. That is a strong point for DFM right now. It's good to answer, but that's going to be an answer in the mid.
Yeah, it certainly is. Already Seros is there. Unipod and Vivid will join, and Steel puts down the Rift Herald. Will not be able to go for two, but positive trade nonetheless.
Do they actually continue to stick around here? No, just getting the extra push, Shelly. It's about half HP off the next turret, as that's going to be the turret in the mid lane. Azora Vecchi trying to answer on the bottom side of the map, but the wave wasn't in position. That was the gank onto Evie. They had to go back, fetch the wave to then push it in, so they just get the kill. They don't get the objective at the back of the pick.
And you could see so many members of Detonation Focus Me cheating down through the vision line. Actually, very nice vision coming out of KLH right now on the bottom side of the map.
And that's the thing, they do have flank wards. If this Mundo was an Ornn, something like that, all of a sudden they have the potential to flank from behind, but Mundo is just going to be stuck against the Camille for, I feel like, the majority of the game at this point. He's working on his Sunfire, has the stopwatch to avoid the dive potential, but you expect Evie to have that priority, so in terms of KLH entering on the other side of the map, it's not as simple as set up wards, TP flank, and look for a fight.
You can see right now 2 members are behind Evie in the top lane, so potentially another gank going to come out onto this Camille. They continue to chase, however, Steel hovers over in support.
Not to mention, Steel Seros has huge priority in mid lane. With that turret going down, they might just be collapsing on KLH on the top.
Looks like this
TP.
is going to be the case. TP is coming in. All of a sudden, they have to bail out on the play. However, now potentially they can go back in. Evie is looking for it. Seros is here. Empowered. No turret goes down. No grenade. And they will just disengage.
And everyone just uses a couple of buttons and they all just walk away. There's a huge turret burn.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, however, that is going to be Azoroveki falling down. Soup's still looking for it, but Unipon is so healthy, will now continue to charge forward, but Soup will get away.
And all the damage went onto the Soraka. The barrier was burnt, but he did not die in the end. So all of a sudden, Unipon finds himself still alive. He's full HP on the back end of that fight. That's an 80 carry trade versus the attempt of the support. They don't get the Soraka.
You can see the upgraded boots too. The Spellbinder used, that would have been a very quick engagement coming out of Unipon, especially given Flash. Just does so much damage. Nice hook there. Little chunk of damage coming out of Soup.
That was a few seconds later, potentially would have just been hit with a QE to the face. But fortunately for Superior, does not. Just going to try and farm up this wave as best he can.
And they are 2,000 gold ahead right now. They've been able to take down 2 turrets. Meanwhile, mid, like, whoa, that's a nuke.
That is. Mantra Q hurts, man. Karma does so much damage. He has the shield. It's hard to take those small burst trades against her. Seros on the Heimerdinger, he just wants to set up the turrets. He wants to constantly be pushing in. We talked about his lack of boots. He's incredibly slow in terms of rotating. You saw how long it took him to walk to that top fight. There was so much time bought by the pillar, by Evie hookshotting away over the wall.
Top lane,
As
Bryce.
looking
Looks
for
like
Shiro.
Evie wants this one. We'll get the slowdown already. Big damage coming out. Where is the ultimate? Will be used. Trundle Pillar as well. And they will once again just burn him down.
And we've seen that one before. It makes it look so easy. There's nothing Mundo can do. Has the flash, but there's nowhere to go. Trundle just walks in from the side. They pick up an easy kill onto Shiro on the top side.
Still have teleport for this bottom lane if they want to go for the play. However, it looks like they will just give it up. Trading split pushing pressure right now for a gold objective.
And it's interesting, Vivid actually going for the no boots build as well, as Saros picks up his own, but wants the redemption rush.
Hedge is hitting real hard at the moment.
He's not going for the Athene's Ardent build, anything like that. Not building for Azoroveki, just going for the straight AP.
Does that surprise you, given how well Azoroveki did play yesterday?
Absolutely, not to mention their composition as well. They have a Graves, they have a Lucian. You have the auto-attacking jungler as well. If you hit a Mantra E, if you have the Athenes, you have an Ardent, you can buff up multiple people on your team. This is the style of composition you expect that build to come from, but...
Not to mention it's much more cheap. So that's why I like it, because games right now are being not ended necessarily, but they may as well be over, 26, 30-minute mark. And you get 2-3 items with that build by that time. I mean, you can see right now he's only on 1 item. Potentially will get to 1.5, 2 by that stage of the game.
Sitting at about a component behind Seros here. Of course, DFM have the global goal. They've taken more turrets. They've taken down mid. They've taken down top. KLH have done well to secure themselves 2 Mountain Drakes, so they have a whole lot of damage. They have a Bork 80 carry. They have the auto-attacking jungler. Gonna work towards that cleaver, so if they ever do find a team fight in the mid game, after 20 minutes, their Baron is actually incredibly quick. Not to mention Mundo cleavers, the percentage HP shred from that. It's gonna be very hard to fight DFM in the pit if they have to come to that. There's so much AoE from the Heimerdinger, from the Vladimir. Maybe can flank from the side, but if they don't have to fight for it, then they just one-shot the Baron.
And at the same time, if they get rid of Evie, then they get rid of a lot of the initiation, of the turn potential. And if Unipon somehow goes down, that's just a lot of the AoE damage that's no longer available. Mundo going to take it up fine, and they do it so quickly.
Because me and you are very experienced in the OPL with teams not having the capacity to actually set up and turn around the Baron, right? These two compositions have barely any hard engage from either side.
Yep.
The best on one is a flank from the Camille. The best on the other is what, like a Pike fishing for a harpoon. He's landed some nutty ones already, predicted a flash, so Superior showing his mastery on this champion, but in terms of reliability, it's not all that there, and if this gold lead doesn't heavily favor one of these teams going into mid-game, it's going to be hard for them to break open the map.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that's when you rely on strange tools. Like, all of a sudden, Unipon's body becomes the engage tool as he tries to fly at the back line. Or, potentially you're speeding up a Mundo, or a deep flank is coming out. Soup, once again, fishing in the mid lane. It's what got you killed the first time, buddy. Be careful.
Classic lore joke. Classic. As 30 seconds away from the Baron spawning. And KLH actually looking for Unipon on the top side. Has no flash as well, only has the pull.
Already has been tagged up by that Executioners as well, trying to get back into his team, and will just do so much damage to Caspiel. That hook will go wide, and Unipon might actually be able to turn this one.
Oh.
No, he won't. Just gets out. Now Teleport coming in. This fight shall continue. Big Flames coming around. Evie goes for the flash continue. We'll be able to get it. Soup dashes into the prison and will be able to pick up 1 kill. However, Shiro now falling down very low. Already will fall, and that is a 3-kill advantage for Detonation Focus Me.
And so many champions on DFM's lineup are so incredibly annoying. The Soraka buys time for the Vladimir. He goes through the invulnerability with the pull. He gets a huge amount of healing in the 1 versus 3. They don't find the initial pick, and DFM, their collapse is slow. Seros is on a Heimerdinger right now. He walks over to the play, but there's still enough members alive to actually win the fight.
And it's only the 80 carry and support up and available. Still 10 seconds away from the mid laner. Evie will just zone them away, and this will be a Baron at 20 minutes and 38 seconds.
Is looking. Unfortunately, Harpoon versus a Smite. Smite probably wins 99% of the time.
You would hope so.
Absolutely.
However, Evie now going over the wall. Soup in a little bit of trouble. Will be able to get the stun. No, misses it. Flashes away. Evie still going to continue this chase.
Shut up.
Will not be able to land the stun. However, good chunk of damage. Will let him live.
Doesn't want to commit too many resources. Doesn't have the ulti. Doesn't want to chase forever. But this was a very nice play from Uniform. Actually turns back onto Azora Vecchi. He knows he doesn't want to take this straight up 1v1. Right then, as soon as Caspiel lands, he goes in for the play. Redemption had already landed from Vivid. And at this point, it looked like they were able to turn it around. And TP comes from Evie. All of a sudden, the overcommit has been there for the Hunters. And they just clean up the back end of the fight.
Yeah, and very nice mechanics coming out of Evie. Able to continue with that flash. Soup tries his best here, gets 1 kill, but they're just unstoppable.
Yeah, because Soup outplayed Vivid here, right? Like, the barrier came at a very inopportune time. It's not like the heal where you get value out of it if you cast it at the wrong time anyway. You have to block the damage coming through immediately, so waits out the barrier, hits him with the execute, and they do pick up the kill. But that's just 1 kill versus an entire Baron up team for DFM.
And already, Detonation Focus Me on their 2-item spikes. They've got themselves the Zhonya's built on the Heimerdinger. Death Cap is available for Unipon. Ravenous Hydra picked up for Evie as well. It's versus like components of the second items right now, and they're so hard to engage onto.
And if you look at the second items they're actually going for, that's an Executioner's Calling and a Hex Drinker invested into by the Lucian before his 2-item spike. You want to be going for that Bork and then the Cleaver to hit that mark and deal a whole lot of damage in the mid lane, but he's got kind of 2 items to tide him over to keep him alive in a fight. And the other interesting thing from Superior, has got 2 kills, the 2 out of 3 for his team, and actually going for the damage build, going for the Dustblade or the Ghostblade there, and instead of what we traditionally see with the Frozen Heart.
Yep.
There are a few buffs to the AD ratios rather for Pyke on this patch to kind of promote that more aggressive playstyle. KLH looking for a flank though.
Certainly are. In goes Vivid one more time. Seros trying to keep them busy. Soup looking to continue fight, but Vivid is out, and now Steel just looking for it. You can see Unipon dodging away around R-Hedge's ability there, and it looks like the fight will discontinue.
And that had to be miscommunication with KLH. Soup actually hooks the Soraka over the wall. Suddenly Buckshot hits that wall and there's no Soraka to be found. They were looking onto the pick, onto Vivid, and if they can't find it,
Actually, in goes Unipon. Maybe? Will
Shield?
he?
Nah.
No, will not fall down. However, turret will fall, and with Baron, they can continue this push.
And Graves, because he was on the flank, has been forced to walk the long way. Isn't even here to defend. It's a 2 versus 4 with Evie still pressuring the bot side of the map.
And Unipon still walking aggressively forward. You can see Teleport is coming out. This might be the fight. Steel going very low underneath this. It's actually the Karma going for the deep flank.
Ooh.
Will blow up Vivid. Now Unipon goes forward, takes care of Caspiel. Shiro's in the front line. Will not go down. Will actually go golden. Now Seros is in some trouble. He will get shut down. However, Evie underneath the turret, taking out Azora Vecchi, and it is just a wash right now. Detonation Focus Me is too strong.
And it's so frustrating for KLH. They do the right thing. You have to pick onto the Soraka, but they expend so many resources onto the utility for DFM that Unipon lives for so long. Sure, they kill the Heimerdinger, but when Evie finally arrives, TP-less at that, he walks to the play, they clean up. They don't get everything, but they do get the turret, they do get the inhib.
And remember, this is do or die right now for Detonation Focus Me, and therefore Japan. The LJL is 1 game away from elimination. This is a team that won it all last year and would like to get the opportunity to play on stage in front of the fans on tomorrow. But right now, They've still just got to concentrate on this one game.
They are. They're looking the goods, though. It's going to be even harder for KLH to pull off an engage like that. This was a very deep flank coming out of the Karma. As you see the TP channel on your screen, Vivid just gets one shot on the backline. There's so much non-committal CC from KLH. The Harpoon comes out, cleavers are landing, that the Soraka just instantly dies. Unfortunately, Caspiel loses his life, but at this point, they're just committing onto Ceres. Azura Vecchi goes so far forward to try and kill the Heimerdinger that he just gets instantly deleted by Evie on the backside, and Udapon, if he doesn't go down initially, Vladimir has so much sustain that you just can't kill the rest of the DFM lineup.
Yeah, because it's strange, because you can't ignore Vivid. You can't ignore Seros, because they still are kind of zone control champions. You know, the silence, the heal, still going to be there. However, the real threats are the Vladimir as well as the Camille. So if you leave them up and available and you don't have any tools left, they're just going to wash you. So it's not many good decisions to be made.
It's a very hard decision, and it's all contextual based on the case-by-case basis. Soraka, in terms of late game team fighting, is all about positioning. If you miss position and get picked for free, then you're literally useless. But if you sit behind a Trundle, if you sit behind 3 turrets set up by the Heimerdinger, then it's so hard to pick on you, and that's exactly what KLH look to do.
So they're going to continue the siege. They're already 7,000 gold up. May as well make it 8 after this turret goes down. Udapon looking for the Zhonya's Hourglass. And really, they're so far ahead that unless it is a mismatched team fight, which is why they're leaving Evie in the bottom lane, there's not all that much Kuala Lumpur Hunters can do.
But it is an interesting setup right now. Evie in the bot side is pressuring. Mountain Drake is up. I think DFM are just waiting for the Baron. They don't want to look to dive onto the base as they actually go back. They're just pushing the top side. They want to keep KLH in there. They want to deny them any access to the vision control. If they do find an opportunity, they can win the fight. It's a huge goal lead, 8,000. But if they don't, then they can just contain the lineup from Malaysia and just set up the Baron almost for free.
You can see Arhead's trying to clear out these waves, but the turrets are just so annoying. In fact, they go down very quickly. Seros still just poking over the wall.
As we see Evie being an absolute nuisance on the other side of the map. Hasn't actually got the in-hit just yet, but it is incredibly low. Dead FM still have 4 members pressuring the top side. 50 seconds on the Baron.
And Evie's 50 CS up and has a Sterex, as you mentioned, has been kind of on tank duty. However, this game around on the carry looking the goods.
And in this 2v2, right, with Evie versus the Graves and the Mundo, there's almost nothing they can do. He could just sit there ignoring the Mundo, and if Cleaver's land, he's just going to hookshot to a wall, walk away. As soon as the Graves shows his face, there's no CC on this lineup of KLH, and this is a very difficult situation. You can see multiple members walking back and forth between top and bottom. They're struggling to allocate their resources effectively to deal with this two-sided push.
Because Evie just does so much damage to turrets right now, and you can see the rest of the team says, all right, that's enough. We know there's not all that much vision around the Baron area. We will sweep back there and try and take our second Baron of the game.
And KLH are actually lucky that that Pink Ward was there, because they've spent so much time in their base. Any traditional wards coming out of a sidestone would have timed out by this point. You saw that one briefly in the top left-hand side. A few seconds away from deletion there, Evie actually got his Sterex proc.
Yeah, it goes very low, and you can see Shiro is going to force him away from the base, running forward. However, right now, Detonation Focus Me is just baiting.
And that's a huge deal for this situation right now for the timing for DFM. They want to be able to pressure the Baron. They want Evie to be able to flank, but all of a sudden, no Sterex. He will die to the Mundo if he stood there and fight, so Shiro just shepherds him out of the base so far down the lane, denying the ability to TP to the other side of the play, but here it comes.
Yeah, it certainly does. So they get a little bit impatient. They say, stuff it, let's just start up the Baron right now. They will have to come to us. Culling already out Steel
Nice
with a fantastic pillar. Evie goes over the wall, just looking for Caspiel, will burn the flash, and
Oh.
Unipod goes in and absolutely eats the jungler. Soup now is next on the menu, but with a nice flash, will get away. Evie, however, hookshot onto 3 members, and this is an absolute wash. Detonation Focus Me right now are running over the Hunters. Evie will continue. Hedge gets taken down, and this Camille is unstoppable.
And the desperation defense coming out of KLH, they have to try and contest the Baron, but there's no way to stop the turn.
And once again, with their backs against the wall, Detonation Focus Me stand up. They keep the hopes of the region alive, and Japan will pick up their second game.
And I love that they do it in unique style. We've seen the Rumble in the bottom lane. We now see this Heimerdinger that has been banned away so often against Seros. It wasn't the Heimerdinger that won them the game. Evie got his hands on the Camille. The bottom lane, the Vladimir, did so much work, and if you think back to how that game started, it is pretty interesting how far behind the top side of the map was for DFM, but their resilience really showing in this game.
I like the patience. I like the fact that they knew Caspiel had the counter pick, was going to run away with the early game, and they said that's okay. Let's play it slow, let's wait for our one-item spikes, and when we get our opportunities, let's make the most of it.
And that's it. They make the right decisions. They make those hard decisions where you have to sack things initially for an advantage later on, and immediately the late invade comes through. They back away from the red buff. As you mentioned, they just wait for their item spikes. They looked at the compositions and were like, look, they don't have the ability to force onto us. The best CC they have is from a pike. There's no hard engage coming out of what KLH picked up, and DFM, they buy enough time. They get themselves the win.
Certainly do. And they do it in style. As we said, the first time we saw this team, it was around things like Zillion. Now going back to their picks, you know, first time we've seen Soraka, first time we've seen the Heimerdinger. I just think that there is something to say there about what you were practiced on. I always say this, play what you're good at.
Yep.
Like, worry about what you're going to do, ban away what beats you, and then you'll be able to get, you know, a lot of the things done.
And Seros is that guy, right? He's been playing for DFM for so long. He's been playing the Zillion, plays the Anivia, GP when it's not meta. He just plays whatever champion he thinks is good now on the Heimerdinger, and has been around for so long. He's playing those legacy champions.
And I think this is only good things to have such a decisive victory. To, you know, play your tempo style game and have success on the first game of what is a do or die day for the LJL. They should now go back to the room and, you know, pump the rest of the teams up. Like, this is very doable.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And you talk about momentum, this is an inter-regional tournament. It's not DFM versus Southeast Asia, it's Japan. So for the other teams, there is comfort in the fact that their second seed came in, got the job done, going back and spilling that momentum onto the rest of the Japanese teams going into the rest of the day. It has to bode well.
It certainly does, of course. Still a lot of League of Legends to be played for Southeast Asia. Now, the pressure takes that next step. They want the first seed. They want side selection, of course, in game number 1, 3, and 5. But with mistakes like that, it is going to become increasingly difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only going to get harder as the day goes on. The pressure is only going to get greater for both of these regions, both vying for different things. Japan just want to be there. Southeast Asia, of course, they want the side selection. They also want to be there, and there's lots of things to play for.
Well, they're going to get a chance because next up, it is going to be Ascension taking on the Chiefs Esports Club. We'll be back after some quick breaks.